All right, so I wanted to welcome Quincy Hull, otherwise known as Q, our poet, and our artist in residence over at 309 Punk Project for June. Quincy, if you don't know Quincy, first, if you don't know Quincy, you haven't been around for a while. But if you don't know Q, Q has been a poet for years and years. We'll find out exactly how long. Q's been a poet in a minute. But Q has also been around in the Pensacola poetry scene for at least a decade and moved a few years back and is living in Denver right now. And we are going to be bringing Q back with the 309 Punk Project as our June 2026 artist in residence. So, Q, let me be the first person to welcome you back to Pensacola virtually.
Thank you, Brother Scott. I appreciate it, sir. It's good to be back, virtually or otherwise. So good to be back. So
Well, you'll
looking
be here
forward,
first.
looking forward to June for sure. Looking forward to it.
We are too. All right, so let me start our interview. So you've been gone from Pensacola for a while. So what are you looking forward to the most in your time here in Pensacola?
Just reconnecting with people like you and Jason and just good friends of mine who I haven't seen in a while physically. So just that's going to be the main thing is going back to see my people. You know, 'cause I'm a people person, so it's all about life for me. So I want to see you all first, and of course it'd be good to go back to the pier and maybe go and touch the beach again and things like that. You know, something I haven't done in a while. So that'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, so what do you miss most about Pensacola the poetry scene, I say? What do you miss about the Pensacola poetry scene the most?
I think this that sense of community that we were forming, that sense
Mhm,
of community,
mhm,
and really to see some of these young, new, like the new, fresh bodies that were coming in, and see them stick around and evolve.
mhm.
I love the evolution of some of the new poets who got so much more confident. The more they came out, like when they came every week, you would see them go from being a little shaky when they first got there to being just very strong and confident. And I think that was my favorite part of being a host is watching the evolution of some young poets come in for the first time. And it reminded me of myself when I was very shaky and scary in front of a crowd, and then to see that evolution to now I'm just very anxious to get up there. And now you got to drag me off the stage, you know. So to see some of those other poets go through that same process that I went through of being nervous to being very confident, I think I missed that, seeing that for sure.
So do you remember the first time that you went on stage as a poet?
I do.
Tell
I
me
was
about
seven. I was 17, and my mother had a friend who knew Gwendolyn Brooks,
that. Oh,
and
that's
we went to go see Gwendolyn Brooks at a. I think it was at the University of Chicago Library.
mhm,
I feel like it was in It was in the '87 or early '88. It was either my junior or senior year,
mhm,
and I wrote a poem. It was called "From Pyramids to Projects." I still
mhm,
remember the poem. It was off the title of Two Kings in the Cipher album. I don't know if you remember Two Kings in the Cipher. They were a really dope rap group back in the
mhm.
'80s, and they did an album called From Pyramids to Projects. And I wrote a poem titled that because I was inspired by that title, and I just wrote on how we went from being pyramid builders to being people who were living in the projects.
Mhm.
And my mom liked that. She always liked that poem, but I always had notebooks around the house. I would write and leave a notebook on the table. My mom would read it. And I remember we went to this thing and they had an open mic before Gwendolyn Brooks performed.
Mhm.
And I remember it because I talk about this a lot since I've been here. Um, right before Gwendolyn Brooks went up, they said, the host said, we have one more poet on the open mic part before we get Gwendolyn Brooks out. He's a little nervous. So y'all got to show him some love, give him some extra energy. And here I am waiting to see who this person was because I'm trying to wait for Gwendolyn Brooks. And I'm like, come on, let's go, guy, whoever this guy is. And then they called my name. And I looked, I'm like, oh, no. And my mom was like, son, just do it. Do it the way we do it in the living room. Just look at me. Ain't nobody in the room but me. Just me and you. Just look at me. And I went up there, Scott, I'm telling you, paper, if it wasn't the podium up there, all you could see was my hand just shaking, trying to hold this paper still. And I'm trying to follow the words because I'm shaking, nervous as I don't know what. I mean, nervous. But something happened afterwards.
Mhm.
I remember this applause and getting this rush run through my body, like,
Mhm.
and I felt like because I was always a very shy kid because I was, a sick kid, growing up
Mhm.
under my father's Vietnam situation, not really knowing what was wrong with me at the time, but just knew I had a lot of surgeries and in and out of clinics and hospitals.
Mhm.
So I was a very quiet, shy kid. I didn't want no, I didn't want a lot of attention. Just give me a book and a corner, and I was fine.
Mhm.
So to be in front of this audience for the first time, I felt like from the response, I had my voice. I felt like I found my voice.
Mhm.
So it still took a while before I got very used to it. But
Mhm.
when I moved to Memphis and when I started really doing open mics on a regular basis, and I felt like poetry was the voice that I needed that I didn't have all those years. And
Mhm.
once I found it, I didn't want it to abandon me, and I didn't want to abandon it.
Wow. So did Gwendolyn Brooks say anything to you?
It was a long line, and my mom had been there for years. I mean,
Uh,
for hours, and she was ready to go.
okay,
She
yeah.
was ready. So I didn't get a chance to speak to her directly, but
Uh,
it was a great show. She did a lot of great poems and some powerful poems,
mhm.
some vulnerable poems. Oh, it was a beautiful event. It was a beautiful
Wow.
event.
Well, that's amazing that you had not only your mom in the audience here, but Gwendolyn Brooks in the
Yeah.
audience too. So few people can say that, especially for their first show.
Right. Yeah, I was nervous. I
Uh-huh.
was nervous. Well, Gwendolyn wasn't out there yet. I mean, she was out there probably, but she was probably still in the back because they called her out right after I got done. So I don't
Mhm,
know. Maybe she was listening, I guess, but
mhm.
she wasn't sitting in the audience. She
Okay.
was probably behind the curtain or something,
Mhm,
waiting to come out right after I was done. And then the organizer came back up after I was done and said some more things and talked about you know how you go through all the people who helped pay for it and all that
oh
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So all the fluff,
Uh-huh.
all the fluff. So.
Well, it's still pretty cool. It's actually super cool. So you've been in Denver now for a bit. So how does the Denver poetry scene differ from the Pensacola poetry scene?
It's more abundant.
Hmm.
It's more abundant. There's an open mic at least probably every night of the week. So
Oh,
it's a lot of open mics here. It's a big
mhm.
city, so it's a lot of. I'm I'm hosting three of them myself.
Oh, no shit.
So I host the open mic every
You
Monday.
jumped right into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right away, right. Actually, and
Uh,
funny thing about it, kind of like when I got there, I didn't even come here with that intention. I came
uh,
here just to be on the scene,
uh,
but um, I'm noticing, I guess, that there's something about I'm not saying this this is what I've been told.
mhm,
I guess there's something about my presence and the way I perform and the way I show up.
mhm,
I've been asked to host all the three of these spots that I'm hosting. I've never came here.
mhm,
That's like when I came to Florida. I didn't come with the intention of hosting.
mhm,
Patrick Hudson asked me to host when he
mhm.
left,
Yeah.
and when I got here, different people asked me to host an open mic, but I never come in with the intention of hosting.
Hmm.
So it always just gets dropped into my lap. You
Uh,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And that's kind of cool. So
Uh,
I had my 3 year anniversary of the one I host on Monday night. I just had my
mhm,
3 year anniversary the 1st of April. And and that's every week. So I've been hosting that 3 years straight on a
mhm.
weekly basis.
Wow.
The one I do, it's really cool. It's the basement of a church,
Mhm,
um, which is there's a queer black minister who runs the church.
mhm,
This dude, he's cool as hell.
mhm,
But and this church is 130 years old, and so we just call it the basement, and
mhm,
it's every third Tuesday of the month.
mhm,
And I've been doing that for 10 months now. And then the long standing open mic here, they've been going on for like over 30 years.
mhm,
I'm one of the hosts. This is like a hosting carousel. So it's weekly, but a different host is every week. So me
mhm,
and my roommate is the third week host, and I'm the fourth week's host.
mhm.
So I
Wow.
host that so I'll be hosting that May 22nd.
So have you seen an evolution of the Denver poetry scene since you got there?
Um,
Or do you feel like you just jumped into it?
well, I jumped into it, but it also has, I think it, so the one I jumped into when I first moved here, which is the oldest running one, that was on Friday. That's on Friday night.
Mhm,
So the one that I host on Monday, in the 3 years I've been hosting it, the evolution of that is definitely prevalent. Is definitely obvious for sure.
mhm,
Because that was mostly more of a music open mic when I started going there.
mhm.
Now it's 50-50. Sometimes it might even be 60-40 poets to musicians.
Okay.
So
Mm. So,
so
well, tell me who inspires you, poetry wise, thinking about poets out there, current ones or ones that we don't know of, or ones that, just have historically inspired you. Who are some people that you look up to?
well, if we speak on historically, for sure, I would have to say the main person would be Gil Scott,
Hmm.
for sure. The Last Poets,
Hmm.
definitely. Um, he changed his name, obviously. Amir Baraka,
Hmm.
of course, when he was Leroy Jones
Hmm.
and when he was Amir Baraka.
Yeah.
Sonia Sanchez,
Hmm.
poetry speaks to me very, very. I guess I can say I like the radical stuff. I like the stuff that's speaking against
Hmm.
the system that
Hmm.
has oppressed us
Yeah.
since we've been here. So I'm more of a fan of that radicalism.
Hmm.
So for
Yeah.
sure, definitely. But I do also. There's another side of me that just really respects the writing process, and I really love. We talked about this before
Hmm.
in the bookstore. I respect more the writing of Phyllis Wheatley now more so than I did when I was younger, I guess.
Hmm.
But just her writing process, I thought it was a beautiful way of writing.
Hmm.
It made you connect with what she was saying. I felt
Yeah.
like I was connecting with it. So
Hmm.
I love the poetry of Asada Shakur,
Hmm.
like the poems
Oh
that
yeah.
she put on the
Mhm.
back of all her chapters in her book. So
Yeah.
man, even Bunchy Carter, when
Hmm.
he wrote that Nigger Town poem,
Hmm.
what I mean? So so many, so
Yeah.
many, so
Yeah.
many. as far as poetry goes. I'm
Mhm.
also a big hip hop fan,
Mhm.
which I think is poetry in motion. So I'm a
Right.
fan of Chuck D and Tupac and Ice T and
Mhm.
Sister Soldier,
Mhm.
X Clan.
Mhm.
I can go on and on about.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by so many different people.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow. Well, a lot of this poetry you're talking about there from the Black Arts Movement, 1970s, and it seems to be really where a lot of the poetry we listen to now, a lot of hip hop we listen to now, really comes from. So do you see yourself as a descendant of this?
absolutely,
Hmm.
yes,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gil Scott. I remember I got a DVD on him and a couple other things. I got a VHS on the Last Poets and of course he's viewed. They are viewed as the fathers of hip hop, pretty
Hmm.
much. They are because that's pretty much what it was. When you think of it as the first Last Poets album, they're standing on the street corner.
Hmm. Oh
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Uh-huh.
So I think those young cats who started hip hop, like the African Mambatas, rest in peace, the African
Mhm.
Mambata. I think they were watching and listening. So, and we replaced the drum, brother Elijah, rest in peace to him as well. Um, and I think they just went from a drum to a drum beat,
Mhm.
like using a drum machine
Yeah. Mhm.
and speeding up the poems and making it more rhythmic and giving it more of a rhythm and just going from poetry straight to rapping. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think it was just a natural
Mhm.
turning of the page. Is what it
Yeah.
felt like. Just a natural turning of the page. But I have to say one more thing before you ask me the next question. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Let me say this because this
Mhm.
is very important. Personally, I was inspired by my older brother, Derek, rest in peace to him, and my youngest brother,
Mhm.
Marcus, who came to the
Oh yeah,
bookstore.
yeah. Mhm.
They were my inspirations poetically in the house because they were such good writers, and I just felt
Mhm.
like that sibling rivalry. I had to
Mhm.
feel like I had to fit in. I had to get it on a level. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
they really inspired me the most
Okay.
when I had to write because I had to kind of be. I wanted to be on a level. I really
Mhm.
wanted to be on a level for
No,
sure. So
no. You carry them with you.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Especially your older brother.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I just had to went through that hard season of,
Mhm.
of his anniversary and then my mom's birthday back to back. So I had a really hard last couple of weeks of April. It's
Mhm.
pretty rough, pretty
Right.
rough.
Yeah, I know both of them come up a lot in your poetry.
Yeah,
Your brother's murder, and your mom's passing, too. Is the subject of your mom's passing is the subject of one of my favorite poems of yours. So
of course,
yes.
definitely. And I appreciate the way you worded it, Scott. So thank you for
Mhm.
wording it that way when you said my brother's murder and my mom's passing, because people try to make them both the same and they're not. A
Yeah.
murder and a passing are not the same. One was
Mhm.
taken away and one
Mhm.
died. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's a whole other world of tragedy, with both of them, so the heaviness
yeah,
is there, but it's different. So
yeah.
um, going on, into some of the other questions here. So I do have one. So this is maybe one of the bigger ones here. And this is this is one I've been focusing on a lot right now. So what do you think is the role of the poet uh historically and right now?
Um, I think they're the same historically and right now. I think that our job is to I think it's to give perspective to people who don't have a voice. I
Mhm.
think that we're supposed to kind of lead the charge
Mhm.
by letting people know, like basically exposing what's going on,
Mhm.
exposing it, bringing it, putting a microscope on the things that are going on,
Mhm.
and then adding somewhat of some type of suggestion, commentary to what we as poets think
Mhm.
should be done about it,
Mhm.
to kind of give people that inspiration and that motivation to take charge of their own lives and not let the system make them feel like they're being boxed in.
Mhm.
So I think our job is to kind of relay the messages that are being displayed to us and then break it down in a layman's terms to where everybody from A to 80 can understand it.
Mhm.
So we all can come up with a collective opportunity to be able to figure out what we can do collectively to try to fix it.
Mhm.
So I think the job of the poet is to I always look at it as an African griot,
Mhm.
is to put out there what's happening,
Mhm.
translate it from this convoluted code that our oppressor speaks in
Mhm.
and make it more layman to where we can understand it.
Mhm.
And now give some type of suggestions to what we feel that they can do to
Mhm.
help so we can kind of fight against it.
Right.
So I
Well,
think it's a very important role. It's a very heavy responsibility, but I think we have that's just the job that we have to do. And we have to be bold enough to understand that whatever the consequence is, it doesn't really matter. We have to be willing to put ourselves on the front line for the masses of our people.
Mhm. Well, since I've known you as a poet, but one of the things that doesn't always get thrown around as much is that you're also an educator. I mean, that you're been an educator for as long as I've known you, to the point where you were doing schools in your house, political education in your house, that were teaching my classes, whenever I can get you in there. And, and I know that you do this in throughout your poetry as well. So think about yourself as, or first, do you think that's right to also call you an educator?
I was gonna say I'm glad you remember. I'm humbled that you remember that. But my roommate is funny. A couple of I still do my class every Sunday morning
Mhm.
at 11 o'clock here.
Okay.
He came out the bedroom the other day and he was like, "Wow, it's like a movie theater here." I had 11 students in my class in my living room. 11 piled up basically on top of each other
Uh,
for a 2 hour class every Sunday. I don't miss every Sunday. So yes. So thank you for acknowledging that. But uh, my uncle and my mom, I think my nickname as a kid was the professor. That's what they called me when I was a kid. So I'm thinking I'm fulfilling that prophecy of what they put out there in the atmosphere for me. So that was my nickname, and I'm still doing it. So yeah. So and a lot of students come to my class every Sunday. It's like a full house in here every Sunday morning.
All
So
right. Well, I wanted to throw that in because, you know, I think it's good to be able to think about, poets in that way, but not every poet's an educator. Not every poet goes out there, to really teach people, about things, whether it be about history or whether it be about, just life itself, through experiences. But seeing you in both of those roles, and also never really seeing a blurry line between the two of them, that it was always, the same thing to me, when I'm looking at you and you're teaching, and also looking at you as a poet, too, because I never saw them as being different with you. That always seemed to be the same thing. So I like that your mom was calling you the professor, because I think that certainly fits.
You're very observant, Scott. I
That's,
have to say, then I try not to separate them. I
uh,
think they are one. To me, they are one and the same. The
mm,
teaching, and I actually incorporate the teaching into the poems,
mm.
and I
So,
incorporate poetry into my teaching as well.
so
So
So what advice would you give to either an educator or a poet, or the two combined at this moment now? So thinking of, that you're certainly a young man, but been around for a little bit, and there's always a new crowd, new group of poets that are coming up too. So what kind of advice would you give them as they're stepping into the field, when they're the 17-year-old Q stepping on the mic, shaky hands and everything? What kind of advice would you give those poets?
that's probably the easiest question you've asked so far. Hopefully, it'll get easier as the day goes on. But I would give them the same advice my mother gave me. I remember going into her room. I finally just bought this album on vinyl. This is
Mhm.
important for me to answer it this way.
Okay.
Do you remember the second Eric B. and Rakim album,
Yeah.
Follow the Leader?
Mhm.
I just got it on vinyl a
Okay.
couple of weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
So that album is special to me because I
Mhm.
remember listening to the album, and I remember going. I'm still in Gary. I remember getting on tape, listening to it, and I
Mhm.
remember after stop, I was writing. I remember going back in my mom's room, which is the last room to the left down the hallway, and I went in her room because her door was open.
Mhm.
The only time I can go in her room if her door was open. If it wasn't open, you better not go in that room without
Mhm.
knocking real hard. But and I remember she was watching soap operas or something. I said, I'm gonna be a poet for the rest of my that's all I'm gonna do is be a poet. I said, I just heard this album and it's like the words just blew my mind. I can't believe you could do this with words.
Mhm.
And she said, it's fine. She said, just make sure you tell the truth.
Mhm.
I'll support you if you tell the truth.
Mhm.
And when I tell you my mom supported me until the day she died,
Mhm.
every open mic, even with cancer, she was out there every week in the front row.
Mhm.
So she lived up to what she said. She would support me as
Mhm.
long as I told the truth. So I always tell people there's a difference between being a poet and a fiction writer.
Mhm.
Tell the truth. And I just tell them to just tell the truth. Whatever your truth is, just tell it.
Mhm.
No matter what the consequences are, the sacrifice, just tell your truth.
Mhm.
And as long as you do that, people will follow you. You have a following if you tell the truth.
Mhm.
People need to be able to trust you. As long as they can trust you, you're gonna have a following.
Mhm. Right. So you got your poetry, your events when you're over here, are going to be coinciding with a number of things. First, your birthday on June 12th, and also Juneteenth. So I know Juneteenth is often celebrated in a pretty broad spectrum. So first, I want to see, what does Juneteenth mean to you, as not only as a black man, but also as a black poet.
Um, when I thought about this question, and I want to make sure I answer it as honestly as possible.
Mhm.
Um, It means a lot to me because of what my ancestors went through. I think about those people in Texas quite a bit,
Mhm,
finding out so late what the rest of the country had already known.
mhm,
And then we all know why, you being an educator and me being one, we know that it was so they can continue to do the crops. And
mhm,
those rich old white slave masters wanted some more
mhm,
extra money, so they kept it quiet so they can keep getting their pay, so they did them wrong. So I feel for them, in an ancestral way, and
mhm,
I try to connect with them on that level. I wish, this is going to be sounding controversial, I'm sure, because it seems like everything I say is controversial these days. But I wish that they
bring
didn't
it
make
on.
it. I wish it wasn't a federal holiday. I
Mhm,
will say that, because I
mhm,
think when things become federal holidays in the black world, they become cheapened,
mhm,
and more about exploitation and economics,
mhm,
as opposed to the real meaning behind what
mhm,
this day is really supposed to represent.
mhm,
And I think that's what happens. And that part. So I'm not. I really wish Biden didn't do that. But
mhm,
I knew he was only doing it just to say, okay, I gave y'all a holiday, so shut up.
mhm,
Stop complaining. Now you got
mhm,
a holiday, so be quiet.
uh-huh,
So that's all it was.
mhm,
This really was just a way to shut us up. And
mhm,
so it's not really real to me. It's not really real,
mhm,
as far as the holiday,
mhm,
as far as as far as it being a national holiday,
mhm,
as far as the day and the celebration of us, I think that it was better, authentic, and more genuine when we didn't have it as a national holiday.
mhm,
So I wish we can go back to doing it the way we were doing it long before they
mhm,
made it a national holiday, to where we connected with our ancestors,
mhm,
and connecting the past to the present, using the past as a way to continue to motivate our youth
mhm,
to keep going, that the struggle ain't over,
mhm.
But I think now that there's a holiday, we just celebrate. And
Yeah.
it's not really the meaning. I think the
Mhm.
meaning has gotten cheapened over the years, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it's a pretty good chance they'll get rid of it. So we'll see. You
It
know,
is. It
right.
is.
Which
It
is
is.
its
Which
own.
which would also be different, because
Mhm.
don't give it to me if you're gonna take it back.
Yeah.
You know
Mhm,
what I mean? Don't give it to me. But
mhm,
it was ingenuine when they gave it to us, and now it's gonna be just as ingenuine when they take it away.
mhm.
So I want to make sure people keep their eyes on that and realize that those things were both not genuine. They
Yeah.
weren't really heartfelt from
Mhm.
the beginning. So
Yeah. Do you remember the first Juneteenth you celebrated? Because I know it comes around at different places at different times.
I feel like it was when I was living in Memphis, and I think it was a celebration in Mississippi. And
Mhm,
think I went over to Mississippi. It was me and my ex fiance and her son. I think we went over for one, and it
mhm,
was great. It was beautiful. It was libations being poured, and
mhm,
they did these uh, spirituals. These, like, they do these African spirituals. It was a beautiful thing. It was
mhm,
like people were dressed in, like, they had like these makeshift cotton fields, and they had like a makeshift person, like, on a horse, not a real horse, I guess, but bringing the information. Like, I think it wasn't like a some type of general or something who
oh yeah.
brought the news.
Mhm,
So they recreate. That's how I really found out, like, all of that information about the general who brought it and brought the letter and read the letter. So, and that was the first time I think I seen it. So that must have
mhm.
been either late '90s or early 2000s was
Okay.
probably the first one I think I remember going to. So
Mhm. Oh, yeah, it's interesting, to see the evolution of it too. I grew up in Texas, so
yeah,
it
you
was
grew up in
around.
Texas, so you probably have more stories to share than I would, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
Being from Texas.
Yeah, I think my first one, I tell this story a bunch, but my first one was in 87, I think 87, 88. My aunts, they went to this Black Catholic church over in Corpus Christi, Texas. And we would go over there and they had this big barbecue over at the house, or at the church, so it was in the back over there. What I remember of it associated with is, brisket, cornbread, and, lots of sides, all mac and cheese and everything else. I don't recall any, like big reenactments or anything, too. And I think in part that was because that might have happened in the church service, and I wasn't there at that, so it might have been part of that. But also, that it had been such a part of Texas history that maybe they didn't need to, to talk about it, or to to open it up or show people everything that was going on, because you probably learned about it when you were in one of the younger classes.
Mm,
Seventh grade. So I'm not sure about that, but yeah, my first memory though is going to that church picnic afterwards and just being really cool. And also thinking that Juneteenth is a really catchy word. It's like Juneteenth, June 19th. I'll never forget that, even though there's other teenths in there. So,
right.
but I just think it's like, wow, that's a really catchy word. I'll remember
Yeah.
it forever. Then saw the Ralph Ellison book when that came out later on, and I thought, oh yeah, this is that holiday.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, and they've been doing them over here in Pensacola for a pretty long time. I know at the university they were doing them before it was a federal holiday. So something that when it came over here they would do it. But yeah, kind of spotty. In different places that they would go on. Largely, yeah, I'm not sure exactly why, but anyway, I'm going off on a side note. So this is interview isn't with me; it's with you.
Right, but I think the first time I did see it was probably in the South when I moved to the South because
Mhm,
I don't remember any of them in Gary when I was growing up in Gary and
mhm,
having any in none of the schools. I don't remember. I mean, I think it was probably talked about during Black History Month, of
mhm,
course, but I don't. The first time I saw one, it was like a reenactment, and
mhm.
I thought it was great. It was like watching a mini play on stage. It was like this big auditorium in Mississippi, and they did the whole nine. They had like cotton fields and people
Mhm,
coming up, but it was great. So I enjoyed it
mhm,
when I first went,
mhm,
and I really went for my fiance's sons. I wanted
mhm,
him to see a part of that. But so I think even growing up, I think it was probably a bigger thing in the South
mhm.
probably than it was where I grew up in. Like I remember going in Chicago or
Okay.
Gary, and I think the first one I went to was definitely in the South.
Yeah, we had one of our artists who lives in Birmingham, but he grew up in Chicago, and his dad was in the Black Panthers. And Roscoe Hall, if you ever know of him, you should look him up. He's a really cool artist.
Okay.
But yeah, Roscoe Hall, and he told us when he was down here that one of the local groups they brought him down to do a Juneteenth thing, when he was here in Pensacola. So yeah, he said he was able to get up on stage and got to talk about it a little bit and said up on the stage, it's like, I grew up in Chicago and my dad was in the Panthers, and this is the first time I've ever been to any Juneteenths, so this is cool.
That's okay. So
Uh,
that's good. That validates that. Then, yeah, I'm saying I don't remember a whole lot about Juneteenth when I was growing up,
mhm,
but it was a lot about the Panthers and it was a lot about the Nation of Islam. So
mhm.
that's what I grew up learning
Oh yeah,
about
yeah.
growing up in Gary, which I'm
Mhm,
glad
mhm.
because when I got to the South, it was all just civil rights stuff, and it was the opposite of what I got ahead of time. So and I'm
Yeah.
glad I got that first
Mhm.
because I didn't realize until I moved to the South that they really just don't cover Black Panther stuff in the South at all. It's mostly all about Martin Luther King and civil
Mhm.
rights and voting, and they don't cover Panthers, they don't cover Nation of Islam, and they
Mhm.
don't cover any of that stuff. So I'm glad I got that on the front end. So I was more prepared when I got to the South when I
Yeah.
got there. So
Mhm. So there'll be a number of things that are going on while you're here in Pensacola. So can you tell me about what you're going to be doing while you're here in Pensacola with the 309 Punk Project for your residency?
Um, well, I'm hoping to do a couple of workshops.
Mhm,
That'd be kind of cool if I can do some couple of workshops. I guess I was really, me, Scott. I'm more of a humble guy, so
mhm.
I guess I probably need to be told what I can and what I can't do. I guess so. Once I know what I can and can't do,
Uh,
I come up with more of a plan on what to do. I guess,
all
but
right, cool. Mhm,
I'm hoping to do some workshops. It would be great to host the open mic while I'm there.
mhm,
That would be amazing. If
mhm.
is the 309 space big enough to host the open mic
Oh yeah,
inside
yeah,
of?
yeah. We've
Oh,
done it
wonderful.
before. Yeah, so yeah, we've hosted a few in the past. Probably about maybe four. Actually, there were more direct. I don't know, they were more featured readings. But we had Jason read, Erica read, and well, it's Asia, read at the house too. So we were able to. We can put 70 people in there standing,
Oh,
and
okay.
we can put comfortably seated around 30. So so yeah, it's definitely bigger than the bookstore and bigger than most other spaces in town. So it's or at least
Okay.
capable to.
Yeah, I would like to do that when I'm there. Workshops, some open mics. As far as artistically, I would definitely like
Mm.
to do those for sure. If there's a way, I don't know. I guess your class will be over with by that time, by June,
Yeah.
right? There's no
Yeah.
class going on. Okay, but anything I would love to do as much as I can while I'm there for sure. Y'all got me, you kidnapped me for 3 weeks. So
Mhm.
the people of Denver are not very happy about it. So you might as well use me while I'm there. So you got me going for 3 weeks. So I want to do something at least
Uh,
twice a week while I'm there, at least
okay.
twice a week.
Okay. Yeah.
But the rule was now listen, I gotta say this because this is important. I know
Mhm.
we was joking about it earlier, but um so I'll be 56 this year.
Mhm.
My mom was 56 when she died.
Oh.
So this is a big, big birthday for me. I
Yeah.
really, really, really want to do a big birthday thing for my birthday for sure because
Mhm.
56 is important. My,
Mhm.
my daughter asked me last year on my 55th birthday party. She asked me last year, she put me to the side. She said, "You don't think you're gonna die at 56, do you?" That
Mhm.
was like the saddest thing for me, for my daughter to ask me that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I said, "No, baby, that's not how it works." I said, "Your
Mhm.
grandmama had breast cancer. She died at 56 because she had breast cancer." And
Mhm.
I said, "But I don't think because she had breast cancer at 56, I'm going to die at
Mhm.
56." But it's just a really big year because I really
Yeah.
want to. celebrate the fact that I made it to the age that my mom was at when she passed.
Mhm.
So I want to do a big birthday thing because
Mhm.
I do one here every year. They always have a big birthday celebration every
Mhm.
year. Really big, and they gotten bigger every year since I've been here. It's like bigger and bigger every year. So
Mhm.
one year it's like 50 people, last year was like 80 people. So
Mhm.
it just keeps growing. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of used to that now. I like that because I don't celebrate holidays anyway. So the
Mhm.
birthday is the only thing I really do celebrate. So if we can do a big poetry jam,
Mhm.
birthday bash thing, that'd
Mhm.
be kind of cool. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that a lot of people have been talking about your return to Geraldine, Robin, Richard.
Yeah, Robin called me. I was in the grocery store. Hey, I just heard you was gonna be here, brother. I was like, yes, I'm coming. I said, the only problem I'm not driving. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. You call me and we'll come and get you, pick you up and take you around. Don't worry about no car. You'll be fine. So I said, okay. So yeah, so it was kind of cool to hear talk to Robin again. It was cool.
Yeah, right
So
on. All right, cool. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
um yes. So, like I said, I do want to connect. Like I said, the main thing is connecting with the physical beings, like my
Mhm.
people who feel like I haven't seen. It's my family out there.
Mhm.
Y'all my family.
Mhm.
11 years. It's a long time to be somewhere. It's a long time to be somewhere. So, I want to definitely reconnect with the family, but also this is going to sound weird, but I want to reconnect with those special places, the Elbow Room
Mhm.
and End of the Line Cafe. So
Oh, yeah.
it's like my mouth waters
Mhm.
when I think about those two places. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? And I don't know if the Jerusalem restaurant is still open or not, if it's still
It
there.
is, yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, those three
Mhm.
places for sure. I want to hit those three places. End of the
Okay.
line, of course,
Uh-huh.
right away. I want to see Jen. I miss Jen. Jen is
Yeah.
my homie. I
Mhm.
miss Jen. So
Mhm.
end of the line and Elbow Room.
Mhm.
Lisa worked at the Elbow Room. I
Mhm.
want to see Lisa again, and then go back to the Jerusalem restaurant. So those three special places had a special place in my heart for the kind of food that I was able to go and eat. You're a vegan as well, so
Mhm.
Pensacola does have a lot of vegan places. That's one thing I love about here is vegan places everywhere. I eat so much vegan food here on a regular basis. So I do miss that, and I want to go back and just like I said, touch the beach again. It'd be good to
Mhm.
touch the beach again as
Yeah.
well. So I'm looking forward to all of those things, man, for sure.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, all that stuff will
And I'm
happen.
honored and humbled that you all, picked me to do
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I'm like little old me. I'm
Uh,
just grateful that I got selected for this. So I'm really, really looking forward to this for sure.
no, we're really happy that you're going to be in town. We're happy to have you. Honored to have you at 309. So we're definitely very grateful to you. So thank you so much for this interview. And let me see. Good. Cut this off there. This will be the awkward part if you're watching this on YouTube because I don't know how to edit this stuff out. So
I got